This is Mr. Melendez. It is March 25th, 2020, and we are going to be talking about lesson topic 6.11, Japanese internment camps. As you see in front of you, I have a live screen recording of the slides that you're going to be viewing. I'm not going to go through every slide. I'm going to talk specifically on certain slides, but it would be up to you to view everything after the video. All right, so our focus question for today's lesson: was the treatment for Japanese Americans during World War II fair or unfair? You're going to be able to answer this question after analyzing a document, watching a video, and then you'll be tasked to complete a short response. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. What I want to do is go ahead and go into the next slide, slide 3. Following the attack of Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941, why do you think many Americans were suspicious of Japanese Americans? I think this is kind of self-evident. After the attack of Pearl Harbor by the Japanese, a lot of Japanese Americans were facing hard times because a lot of Americans just didn't trust Japanese that were living in the United States. So, going to slide number 4, the main reason why is that many Americans were afraid of Japanese Americans that lived on the West Coast. All right, thinking that a majority of Japanese Americans were probably acting as spies and they were somehow going to help out their country to attack additional United States targets, like maybe a base or some kind of industrial park or factory. But this was on the minds of many Americans at the time. Okay? Now, the reason why this was targeting more in the West Coast is because Japan and China are all the way on the other side of the Pacific. And mostly when Japanese and Chinese people were trying to immigrate to the United States, most of them traveled to the West Coast and they hit California, specifically San Francisco, because they had Angel Island out there, which is similar to Ellis Island here in New York City. It's a processing site where they would process incoming immigrants and vet them so that way they can come into the United States. The big concern was the fact that in the West Coast, there are especially in California, there are several Army and Navy bases, a lot of industrial parks, and many Americans were afraid that Japanese spies were living within American society and they would be able to send that information back to their home country. So in February 1942, President Roosevelt issued Executive Order 9066. What this does, it forces Japanese Americans to move out of their homes into internment camps, right? And the main reason why they did this is they wanted to keep Japanese Americans from spying on American territory and reporting that back to their country. All right. One of the things that I do want to point out, and this is something that I want to make sure that you understand, that there is a difference in words. Words matter here. We see this right here, internment camps. In the video that you're going to watch later, they kind of use, instead of internment camps, they use the word concentration camp. Let me tell you what the difference is. When it comes to internment camps, we always associate internment camps with the treatment of Japanese Americans. And internment camps were used to confine people, all right? People that were either suspected of being a spy, or maybe a prisoner of war, or maybe an illegal immigrant that somehow were able to come to the United States. The big difference is that most of the people that were in the internment camps were treated fairly. Okay, they weren't abused, they weren't attacked, they were fed. Okay, it wasn't the greatest living conditions. They didn't get the best food, but they were treated fairly. When we talk about concentration camps, we're mostly talking about what the Germans did to people of Jewish faith. When we look at concentration camps, their main purpose was to slowly exterminate Jewish people. They would starve them to death, they would beat them to death, shoot them in the head, or put them in gas chambers, hundreds at a time, or burn Jewish people alive. Jewish people that went to concentration camp knew, most of them knew that they were going to die. And this was the difference between a concentration camp and an internment camp. And I just wanted to make sure that you understand the difference between the two. Okay, let's go to slide number 6. Most Japanese families or Japanese American families had to sell their homes and their businesses in order to relocate to these camps. Most families were not able to take everything that they possess. They can only take what they can carry, and mostly suitcases full of clothing and documents, maybe important documents that they had, like birth certificates and maybe passports. Maybe a couple of items that were like heirlooms or jewelry or one or two pieces of furniture. Other than that, most of Japanese and Japanese Americans lost their homes during this time frame. If they owned cars, they had to abandon their cars. Most of their cars were stolen or taken away from the bank. They lost their apartments, their furnitures, whatever they couldn't take with them. They had to leave them in their houses. They had to leave them in their apartments. And people will go to these places and actually steal the contents out of the homes because they were unoccupied. And the majority of the Japanese and Japanese Americans lost their businesses. The reason why I mention this is because when you look at the video is kind of like similar to propaganda. They're going to kind of look at how the positives of what was happening at the time, how the Japanese took everything in stride, that they were very obedient, that they set up these camps with large facilities and they were fed well. And this necessarily was not the case. Yes, they were fed. Yes, they had facilities to sleep in. Were they the best? More than likely not. Privacy, they did not have. It was not the best food. And you really need to think about it. A camp can hold anywhere between 10,000 to 15,000 people. And they had to feed these people 3 times a day. So I'm pretty sure that the amount of food that they had to cook in these internment camps were not the best tasting food. Okay? So I implore you to go ahead and go through the rest of the slides on your own. But now we're going to go ahead and talk about the video. Okay? Make sure that when you go to um, Google Classroom that you're able to click on the video. It's a YouTube video, so it's a link and it will take you to it. View the entire video. When you're done, go ahead and click on the document that's provided for you, and it's going to look like this. So you're going to be reading about a Japanese American who served in the United States Army and how he was treated when he went to a Japanese internment camp to visit his family. What happened was that this individual, while going through boot camp and basic training, his mother and his brothers were taken to the internment camps. And now, after his training, he decides before he is shipped away to overseas for the war that he is going to visit them at these camps. Read the document so you understand how he was treated. And I'm going to move down to the next page. And now you have your written task. How did American society treat Japanese and Japanese Americans? Do you agree or disagree with the way the United States handled this particular situation? What you're basically answering the focus question here. How do we treat Japanese and Japanese Americans? And do you agree or disagree in the way that they were treated? I want you to explain your rationale. And I want you to use two pieces of evidence. That evidence could be from both of them, could be from the video, or both of them could be from the document, or one from the video or one for the document is up to you. It's a short response. It can be a small to medium sized paragraph, or you can break it into two separate paragraphs. It is up to you. As you can see here, I went ahead and attached some sentence starters so that way they can help you out. Where my cursor is, this is where you would begin to type your short response. Okay, and you can type here, and then when you save, I'm going to go up here to file. I would click save as, and what I would do is when you save this file, go ahead and add your full name here, so I know that when you upload this into Google Classroom that this is your document. You would save it, and then you would be able to upload it into Google Classroom. Okay, so let's go ahead and look here. So you have, I'm going to be posting this on Wednesday, and you have 4 steps here. Watch the video with the PowerPoint. You're also going to watch a video of the Japanese internment camp. Read and analyze the document of the Japanese soldier visiting family at the internment camp. And then step 4, you're going to complete your written task on the Word document. Upload the document onto Google Classroom. This assignment is due on Thursday, March 26th at 3 p.m. And I wrote here in the bottom that if you have any questions, you could post your questions to Google Classroom, or you can go ahead and send me an email to my email here during office hours. All right. If Don't forget to go ahead and view the video that I posted on Google Classroom on how to download, open, save, and upload files to Google Classroom. It's very informative, and you're going to have to do these steps in order to complete your assignment. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the video. Again, the beauty of these types of videos is that you can pause them, you can rewind them, and then you can review them again so you know what you're doing. Again, if you have any questions, go ahead and email me during my office hours. I'll get back to you right away. Take care, everyone, and enjoy the lesson.